Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today on Weird Stuff in a Can we've got Hungarian fish soup. Probably not all that weird in some parts of the world, but soup with a great big chunk of fish in it is probably relatively unusual here in the UK. So I'm going to try and pronounce this now. I'm going to try and pronounce this. Apologies if I get it wrong, I mean no insult. I think this is pronounced Tijai Holásle. I don't know any Hungarian, so I'm struggling with the pronunciation and indeed the translation of the ingredients, which we'll try and work through now. Camera translation of this didn't work very well. It's a combination of the gradient on the print there and the curvature of the can. Just couldn't actually get an auto-translate, but I've bashed in the words into various translation engines, and I think what we have here is fish slices, 45%, which is busa and ponti, which I believe is two different kinds of carp. Although some sources did say did translate busa as bass, but I don't think so. I think it's big head carp or silver carp or something like that. Anyway, water, quick frozen fish stock concentrate, which is water, fish fillets, red onion, salt and paprika powder, sunflower oil, hot peppers, fried red shallots, salt and modified potato starch. So a fairly simple soup, and it's going to have that paprika, hot pepper flavour, which is very characteristic of this kind of a product. And I think I'm actually probably going to enjoy it because there's nothing in there that I don't like the sound of. Carp is not widely eaten here in the UK, at least not by UK natives. It's always regarded as a kind of muddy tasting fish or bony fish or not really suitable for the table, but we're kind of in the minority worldwide about the idea of eating carp. So we'll give it a try anyway. The can is ever so slightly dented, but not in a way that worries me. Just a little bit of compression on the rim there, but no sign of bulging or anything like that, so I don't think there's any damage done. What else is there to say? There are instructions on here, but I couldn't be bothered to translate them. It's a can of soup, so I think this is instructions for microwaving it, but I think I'm just going to tip it in a little saucepan and just warm it up until it's piping hot throughout. Oh, I think this little bit here means mixed fish. Anyway, I think that's enough waffle. Let's just give the top of the can a little wipe, and then we'll open it up and see what we're dealing with. So it is a pull tab can, but I'm using a can opener because it is my preference to do so. Oh gosh, making a bit of a mess at the table. Now there's a little bit of squirt there, but I think that's just because the can has been dented a bit. I don't think it's gone off inside the can. I think it's just dented, and that's caused a bit of pressure in there. Okay, so we are faced with some reddish coloured oil on top. So the sunflower oil that's in there, or the oil from the fish, has absorbed the colours from the paprika, and then we've got a big old chunk of fish in there and smaller chunks of fish. Now this is supposed to be eaten warm, and I will eat it warm, but I'm just going to taste a little bit of the soup as it comes out of the can because that's what we do. It tastes really nice, quite savoury, very mild sort of paprika flavour, a little bit of heat there from the hot chilies, but not much. I'm just going to take this to the kitchen, warm it up, and then we'll come back and give it a proper taste. Right then, well, there's lunch. I'm just going to eat this with some buttered warm bread. Slight awkwardness here because this camera's in the way of where I'm taking my spoon, but anyway. Let's try the soup now that it's warm. A little bit hot. Oh, that's really tasty. Obviously heating it up has brought out a lot of the savoury flavours. Right, so there's a little bit of whitish fish there. I don't know, I won't be able to identify which fish is which in here. There are two types of fish in here, but I won't be able to tell which one's which, I don't think. So, okay, that piece had lots of little bones in it, but they were kind of little crunchy bones like you get in sardines. I don't think I could have separated them out. They were little crumbly, chalky sort of bones. That piece, no bones. There is a lot of liquid here, so I'm going to make good use of that to soak a few pieces of nice bread. It's a really nice tasty soup. Only the very, very faintest little hint of chili in there. It's quite subtle. So this big piece of fish here, I think the white, I don't know, these might just be different cuts of the same fish. Really hard to tell. This one does seem to be a kind of darker, slightly more pink colour. and it seems to be a bit softer, so maybe that's the other kind of fish in here. And as you can see, we've got little bones, Y-shaped bone there. I'm sure that would have been fine just to eat anyway. There's in fact quite a lot of bones in there, but they're very crumbly. I don't think they're the kind of bones that you'd bother picking out, although I will pick out that one now I've got it in my hand. So yeah, there's quite a lot of bone in there, which you just can't eat around. So you do end up eating the bones, but they have the texture of like toasted bread crust, really. They're just crumbly little, slightly chalky things. Probably really good for you, actually. Loads of calcium in that. So as far as carp being a muddy tasting fish, can't detect that at all in this recipe. And that might be because there are spices and flavourings in here that are covering that up. It might be that this fish has been purged and doesn't taste muddy. It might be that this whole thing about carp tasting muddy is kind of a bit of an overblown legend. Certainly I think if you ask most British people for their opinion on the idea of eating carp, if they tell you something, it's more than likely come from something that somebody else has told them rather than experience. So once this whole idea of carp not being a fish for the table starts circulating, it's just likely to perpetuate itself. As to why we don't historically eat a lot of carp in this country, I think that's probably just because we're a small island surrounded by lots of rich seas historically, and we were spoilt for choice for seafood. Anyway, this is really tasty. I'm not sure which piece of fish is which in here. Some of the pieces are quite meaty, some of them are quite soft. All of them are nice. Now there's a big old chunk of bone. I probably won't eat that one. That's just really nice. Really tasty. I think not especially fishy. It's really savoury, but I wouldn't say it tastes really fishy. I think if you gave me that to blind taste test, I would definitely say it has something animal in it. It has some sort of meat or protein in there. I don't think I would necessarily, from just this sauce alone, have guessed fish. I might have said chicken, I might have said pork, because it tastes really meaty and savoury, but not especially fishy. Weird little afterthought just recorded after I finished this meal. My brain is telling me I can taste saffron in there, but I didn't see it in the ingredients. So I think what's actually happening here is there's some kind of weird association happening with similar flavour profiles. And I think this is that kind of Spanish style. And I think my brain is telling me, because I'm tasting paprika and salt and stock, that there's saffron in there as well. It's really strange. So that's Hungarian fish soup, weird stuff in a can on atomic shrimp. Now, of course, this is the canned version of this, and I imagine that the kind of homemade recipes of this are probably a little bit more elaborate, perhaps, a little bit more delicate or deeply spiced or something like that. So if you've got a recipe for a kind of more authentically homemade version of this that you'd like me to try out, then do let me know in the comments, because I'm quite interested in trying to cook this for myself. So there we go, Hungarian fish soup, weird stuff in a can on atomic shrimp. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.